Hi, I'm Marlo Lewis, a senior fellow with the Competitive Enterprise Institute in Washington, D.C., and I will be speaking with you today about Al Gore's Oscar-winning film, An Inconvenient Truth. This film is extraordinary not only because it won an Oscar in the Best Documentary Feature category, but because it has been massively influential on the politics of climate change here in Washington, D.C. My question is whether it deserves to have that influence, and in fact whether it deserved to win an Oscar for Best Documentary. Because one could argue, and I will argue today, that this film is actually a scarumentary. It's not a documentary. It's a sci-fi disaster film in the guise of a documentary. And I think that a very good gloss on the whole film was written years ago by a columnist, H.L. Mencken, who said, "The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed and hence clamorous to be led to safety by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins, all of them imaginary." And I'd like you to keep that in mind as you read the movie poster advertisement for An Inconvenient Truth, which says, quote, "By far the most terrifying movie you will ever see." Now sometimes the fears that politicians raise are real and we should heed them. But since fear is such an important lever in politics, I think we should always be a little bit skeptical when politicians come to us and tell us the world is coming to an end, but they have a solution. An Inconvenient Truth purports to be a balanced scientific presentation on global warming and also a statement of moral common sense. What I will argue today is that An Inconvenient Truth is actually a computer-enhanced lawyer's brief for climate alarmism and energy rationing. What do I mean by a lawyer's brief? Well, you know, lawyers aren't supposed to make the case both for and against their client. They only present one side of the story. And in fact, what lawyers often do is they'll assemble every argument they can think of and throw them all up against a wall, hoping some of them will stick. And I think we'll find that An Inconvenient Truth proceeds very much in that lawyerly fashion. What I have found in my very detailed examination of An Inconvenient Truth and a book-length commentary which I have written is available on CEI's website, www.cei.org. It's called Al Gore's Science Fiction. What I have found is that Al Gore makes numerous distortions of fact and interpretation, which I would categorize as follows. Some of them are one-sided. In other words, he leaves out a critical part of the story. Some are just downright misleading. In other cases, he exaggerates. In some cases, he speculates but presents this speculation as fact. In some instances, what he says is just plain wrong. So I'm going to go through a few of the leading examples in each category, and then I will address the three big disaster scenarios that Al Gore presents, having to do with the shutdown of the oceanic conveyor belt, hurricane intensification, and the collapse of the great ice sheets, allegedly leading to 20 feet of sea level rise. So hang on to your seats because this should be a fun ride. This is a skeptical tour of Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth.